Howdy everyone, and welcome back to the Luna Geeks Out channel. After far too long of a delay, we are finally getting to Aqua Regia by Sleep Token. Super excited to check this one out. I've been wanting to get to it for a while now, and unfortunately, some illness and some issues with the weather delayed me. But, yeah, very excited to hop into this one. The three previous tracks you've heard off of the upcoming album have been phenomenal. So if this is on the same level as them, I mean, it's going to be amazing. I mean, even if it's not on the same level as them, it's Sleep Token, so it's still going to be amazing. But, yeah, very excited to check this one out. It has been far too long of a delay getting to it, so without further ado, let's hop into it. Alright, so a synth start to this one. Sound we haven't really heard from them so far, synth-wise, at least not that I can think of. A good sounder. Why is you some artist? Ooh, some piano. Very nice. Oh, that's beautiful. I'm so glad we're getting like some proper piano in here. Okay. Definitely a bit more of a pop focus in this one. Some good bass in the background, very nice. I suppose I've been saying the name of the song wrong this whole time. Some drums kicking in, very nice. Such beautiful piano there. Alright, sort of a jazzy sound. Nice. Nice. Piano's doing some real interesting stuff and great percussion in this one. Want some proper bass in the background? Oh, this one's amazing. Some talking in the background. There's some kind of sampling. Oh, just a beautiful piano. Okay. Oh, this is really nice right here. Oh, that was nice right there. Oh, that was amazing. I mean, it of course would have been nice to get some metal coming in, but I can't complain about the lack of it at all. I mean, what we got there was fantastic, and definitely one of the only Sleep Token songs that hasn't had, like, any metal elements. The only other ones I can think of are Fall For Me, very obvious. I'm ignoring all, like, the Room Below style tracks, because that really is its own separate thing. But yeah, Fall For Me, very obvious there. Missing Limbs, The Way That You Were, and Drag Me Under. I think every other song has brought in at least some metal. I mean, even the softer ones, such as The Night Does Not Belong to God. But that's really rant for the review portion. Just too interesting not to hear any actual metal within this, but definitely cannot complain about the absence. I think what we got there was executed beautifully, let's say. Just that beautiful song. But lyrical analysis time? There's not so much like a broader meaning I'm going to dive into with this one. There is, but that's not the main focus. It's mostly to be different little little lines I want to point out that are almost more connections to different things. So, starting right off the bat in verse 1, got between teeth on a broken jaw, just some very common imagery in Sleep Token's music, mouths, jaws biting, all that stuff. I'm interested to see where that's going to go with the track Vor off of this album, which hopefully I won't go too crazy with the lyrics so I can actually talk about it. Knowing Sleep Token, I doubt it's going to be anything inappropriate, shall we say. But hopefully it's fine for what I try to do on the channel. But common theming, common imagery within their music. So just another great example of that. And then immediately following it, the line "following a blood trail frothing at the mall." Makes me think again of, what track was it? The Summoning, I think it was. I've got a blood trail, red and the blue. Yeah, I do believe it was that track. Just, call back to there. Then we have this next section. These days, I'm a circuit board, integrated hardware you cannot afford. And now the annotation here on Genius, which I tend to use for song lyrics, says that the singer is comparing themselves to gold without mentioning the metal by name. Computer parts take a decent amount of gold to construct, with motherboards take the most, and in connection to the later line as well. I very much think this is a stretch, and given that this annotation currently has a -3 points, I guess, I can only assume that other people feel the same, but it does open up an interesting discussion that we'll get into in a moment. In what I'm grabbing with this circuit board line is 3 things. One is a sense of complexity. I mean, when I think of a circuit board, I think of all these little, I don't know computer stuff, right? So my mind goes to, like, all these little wires and little bits of connectivity and everything all intertwining, and this complex system that makes a computer or a machine function. That's the kind of thing that makes me think of. And then the line "integrated hardware you cannot afford," the idea that very very obviously you cannot afford, this idea that what Vessel is and what a relationship with Vessel is something that this person that they are singing about can no longer sort of handle, in a sense. And then perhaps there's an idea of, a circuit board, again, very limited understanding of technology, so forgive me if I'm inaccurate with this. But, sort of an idea of programming, in a sense, right? A vessel was perhaps built this way, designed this way, is functioning like they're meant to. And so perhaps a good connection there. And then the perfect start to a perfect war, putting down the roses, picking up the sword, right off the bat just makes me think War of the Roses. I'm a history guy. I don't know what happened to the War of the Roses. That's outside of my area of interests, shall we say. That was just what that made me think of right off the bat. But the annotation you just make a mention of, wars often fought, over greed, over wealth. Gold, oftentimes a symbol for that. Again, actually a good comparison there. But I still feel like trying to make this section be about gold is a bit of a stretch. Though there are later lines I'll talk about that sort of go back to that idea. So I think what the person did the annotation here, I think it works, but it does feel like a bit too much of a stretch for me. But the main thing with that is just going back to this very common idea within Sleep Token of violence and a shift away from roses, something often seen as romantic, something beautiful, to the sword, a symbol of war. So just another callback to very common themes within their music. And then we get to Aqua Regia, which I don't know if that's correct. I've been reading it as Aqua Regia. I'm gonna, from now on, pronounce it Aqua Regia because I'll go with what is in the song. If y'all can let me know what the proper pronunciation for that is, I would greatly appreciate it, because trying to read stuff phonetically, I suppose, does not always work out all that well for me. But that is something I'll get to in a moment, but does need to go on and be pointed out. Aqua Regia, very important within this song. Now, getting into verse 2, my past is a holy book. Perhaps, a tie back into the broader lore with Sleep, the band being formed to worship this ancient deity or something along those lines. It does tie back into, some other lines they've had over the years as well, but just perhaps a good tie into that. A call from Olympus ringing off the hook, continuing that sort of holy idea, Olympus, home of the Greek gods. Just a cool little tie in there. Then the next thing I want to point out, these days I'm a picture frame. Now this does tie into some of the later stuff in that as well, but what that makes me think of is not so much within the song itself. It's just an interesting tie-in I made that I want to point out. If any of y'all know the old folk artist Eric Bogle, my favorite track from him is No Man's Land. An absolutely beautiful, heartbreaking song about basically a man who he's going for, a travel, going for basically a long walk, a hike, and stops in a graveyard where there is a soldier buried there, Willie McBride, I believe the name in the song is, who was killed in 1916. There's also a fantastic cover of this by 1914, if y'all are interested in some more heavy stuff, but a beautiful song. Would highly recommend this version and 1914's version. But on Genius, there's not, section headings, I guess, but I believe this is the second verse. I'm just going to read this off in full. And did you leave a wife or sweetheart behind? In some faithful heart is your memory enshrined. And though you died back in 1916, to that loyal heart are you always 19? Or are you just a stranger without even a name, forever enclosed behind some glass pane, in an old photograph torn and tattered and stained, and fading to yellow in a brown leather frame? And just reading that, nowadays I'm a picture frame, it's like, No Man's Land reference. And I was back to, there's actually, I think there's a good connection with perhaps this idea that Vessel has sort of been forgotten. The person that the music is about has moved past them, has left them behind, and they are, trapped within this frame, really, forgotten at this point, fading away. Sugar on the blood cells. Sugar reference, basically, I can imagine. Banger song, I was listening to that one earlier today. Fantastic track. But then Out of Eden's Vices, Running Through My Veins. Reference to the album title, Take Me Back to Eden. Nothing much to say there, but it's nice. Then we get to the chorus. Aqua Regia, oxytocin running in the ether, silicone ballrooms, subatomic interactions, if it's all good, gold rush, acid flux, saturate me, I can't get enough, cold love, hot blood, running to your heart when you're thinking of. And there's a few different things to point out in here right off the bat, tying back into this idea of Aqua Regia, which all tying back into this idea of gold. We have the line gold rush, acid flux. But then also tying back to an earlier point, silicone ballrooms, makes me think Silicon Valley, and of course, circuit boards and everything again. But now it is time to explain what Aqua Regia is. Essentially, it's some really powerful acid. Some really powerful acid. No longer neither acid nor alkaline, I suppose. We'll go back to that song in a moment. But basically, it's a mix of, I believe, hydrochloric acid and one other that is used to dissolve gold and dissolve other noble metals. That's where it apparently gets its name from, because Aqua Regia, basically like king's water or lord's water, something along those lines, royal water. So it dissolves the noble metals, and these days it is mainly used to refine gold. And there's also a really interesting story I heard about while looking into this, where in World War II, there were some Nobel Prizes, that, I believe it was a Nobel Prize, it was something in that vein, that the Nazis were going to take, and the scientist who had the Aqua Regia basically took these, for, I think one of them might have been his, and the other was like a friend of his or something along those lines, and, they melted it down in the Aqua Regia, and then used that refined gold to later, reforge the, prizes. I'm not... Doesn't have too much to relate to the song, but an interesting little story that I thought I would share with y'all. But this idea of, something that dissolves but then sort of refines as well is a fantastic metaphor, I suppose, for Sleep Token's lyrics, the sort of storytelling they have. This, we have these ideas of these toxic relationships, perhaps some abuse going on, but also lots of love within it as well, and this relationship that Vessel is perhaps longing for does destroy, it does damage, it does corrode, but it also refines them, and I think that is just frankly just a beautiful sort of metaphor for the stories that they tell. And then we've got one more line in here that ties back into that and ties into something else as well. Saturate me, I can't get enough. Just this idea that they want this to sort of wash over them fully, get into them fully, do what it would do to them, the Aqua Regia. But that also made me think of the line in the chorus of Say That You Will. Once you say that you will, let the impulse to love and the instinct to kill entangle to one. I can't really back up why that made me think of that, but it did, and I had to point it out. And just with the chorus as a whole, it ties back to Alkaline with a line that's talk about chemistry, which Vessel sure did do. And how the bridge, there's the reference to dark sides that people have been talking about, but just a general continuation of this idea of violence and everything within their music. Yeah, that is it for all the different stuff I wanted to point out in that. Some fantastic lyricism in here. Not as easy to grab like sort of a central continuous thing from this track as it's been with some of the previous ones. But some really good stuff in here. Some great callbacks to previous tracks they've done. So yeah, fantastic lyricism in here. As always, a bit different from what we've heard from them in the past, at least that I can think of. But certainly something I am quite enjoying. Now, for the music review, I mean, what can I say? That was fantastic. I was certainly expecting some metal from it, right? I mean, it's Sleep Token, they are a metal band, so I was expecting, at some point you're going to have a good build-up, and then it's going to crash down. Maybe we get a bit of chunk, maybe we get some harsh vocals, but whatever, so you're going to get some good electric guitar. It's going to get a bit heavy. I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to headbang a little. And it never came. And very, very easy to complain about that, but I honestly cannot. I mean, there are some songs, like, I do think they needed a bit more with this. I do think it lacked a little bit of punch, it could have been a bit more, had a bit more emphasis. This one, honestly, this is perfect as it was. I won't say that, the addition of metal would have hurt it, but I don't think the addition of metal would have helped it, if that makes any sense. But we'll get into the individual elements, starting off with the vocals. Not as much to say about these as with some of the ones we've checked out in the past. The Summoning, for example, had a lot to talk about with the vocals. But, I mean, it is Vessel's vocals. That's weird. They are, as expected, phenomenal, right? That was some fantastic stuff, some great power in them, some great emotion in them. In this one, I could actually really sense a lot of pain, which hasn't always shown up in their songs. I think it was quite clear in this one, but also there was, I would say, a bit of love in this as well, an interesting balance between that, and was executed perfectly, shall we say. So fantastic vocals in this. Dog's going crazy out there. Then we had some slight guitar, sort of, honestly, I'm struggling to remember the structure of this. I don't remember if it was just during the bridge, or if there's like a guitar solo, but we had Something that kind of made me think of some of the recent Polyphia stuff, actually. Similar playstyle, similar tone. And it made me think of someone else as well, someone else's style, someone else's sound. And I can't place it, but just, great guitar in here. It was not a sound I was expecting from Sleep Token. But honestly, with what we've been getting on the album so far, kind of makes sense that they're bringing in more of this kind of sound. And I thought that was fantastic. Not a lot to say on it, mostly just because I am, unfortunately, struggling to remember it. But I thought it was a great section, for sure. Then, bass, I could actually hear it in this one. Oh man, it was beautiful. We had more of a synthesized bass towards the beginning, and then later on, as the jazzy stuff really sort of amped up, we got into the bass guitar. I mean, it was fantastic. Honestly, I think the bass guitar could have still been a little higher in the mix. But, it was great to hear it, great to feel it, great tone on all that, great playing on all that. That was absolutely fantastic, especially since right before filming, I was listening to the newish Ne Obliviscaris track, Grail, I think it is, and some very rich bass in their music, so I was in a good bass mood, and great to hear it return in this track, so that was fantastic. Percussion, not as insane as we get from some of their stuff, but it was very good, very good. Honestly, that stood out to me in this track a lot more than any of the other tracks. I think that was partially helped by the fact that this was a bit more of a chill song in a sense, right? But, just fantastic percussion in this. Not a lot to say on it, but it was great. Again, some of those jazzy kind of vibes, which was nice. Little hint of the metal, though, from time to time, where it went a little crazy, a little faster, a little heavier, so nice to hear all of that. Then we had the electronic elements, which were all nice. Not too much to say on them. The ones at the beginning reminded me of someone, and I cannot think of who. Hopefully I'll stumble across whatever track that's making me think of soon. So I'll be able to say it for myself at least. But I thought that was fantastic. Good continuation of the previous track, granted, with some heavy electronic focus there. And then we got some proper piano in this, and we'd gotten some slight keyboard and some slight piano, some slight keyboard in Chokehold, and I think there was some in the Summoning. I'm not entirely sure. I think there was, but it was great to really get a proper return to it in this song. Really heavy implementation, again, sort of a jazzy, and some pop elements as well within it, and I thought it was fantastic. Not too much to say on it, but, fantastic. So, song as a whole, I mean, I've mentioned sort of the jazzy vibes, we had a lot of pop elements as well. Really a big shift away from the metal, and I already talked about my feelings on that, both in the immediate thoughts section and earlier in the review, but that is something that honestly very easily could have not worked for me, because I do come to Sleep Token for the metal first and foremost. That what they do with metal is, it really scratches a musical itch, and the stuff that is non-metal doesn't work for me as much, though it's still good. But this was a track where I was not left wanting for metal. I was like, I wouldn't have complained if there was some metal, but I'm not like, I knew this. I really hoped that this one had some metal. I hope that this one has some metal, but I'm not disappointed that it wasn't there, if that makes any sense. So on the whole, fantastic track. I'm not sure where this one's going to go in the ranking of these new ones, but honestly, this might end up being my favorite. I keep going back and forth between all of them, but there was something about this one, the way everything came together, the energy of it, and frankly, the newness of it. Because, even the Summoning brought in some stuff that we don't hear very often, some, fantastic harsh vocals, and, sort of funk section at the end. But that still felt like a Sleep Token song. This one feels new, and they feel like they're pushing themselves a bit more with this one, and that's really exciting to me. So this one might actually end up being my favorite. I'm gonna have to wait for the magic of new music to wear off and everything, but very much caught off guard by this one in the best possible way. So yeah, just fantastic track from Sleep Token this time. But I don't really have much more to say on the song, so y'all know the drill. It is time to select the next reaction. Now, I would go ahead and do the new Baby Metal song, because we just got a video for that, actually today, as of filming a video for Metal Kingdom. But this was planned to be filmed yesterday, and I didn't get a chance because bad weather. And I would have done the picker wheel in that, so I'm going to spin it today, and then we'll get Baby Metal done after whatever this one gets us. There's a few things I really hope we get on here, a few new releases. There's a new Accident live video that just came out, and some Wagamama Rakia live videos that just released that I would really love to get to super quick. But, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here that should prove to be interesting, so let's give it a spin, see what we get. Did that a little early. Also, we're up to 34 now, so lots of stuff. Lorna Shore 1, okay, we are finishing up the Pain Remains trilogy next time. Nice. The two Lorna Shore tracks are a couple that were requested by someone. Awaken, O Sleeping Dreamer, and then one of the others. I've forgotten the name of that one, but Lorna Shore 1 is Pain Remains 3, so very excited to be finishing up that trilogy. The previous two were phenomenal and also heartbreaking, so this one should prove to be quite interesting. But that is going to do it, so thank you all for watching. Be sure to like if you liked, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below with your own thoughts on the track, any feedback or criticism, or anything you want me to react to. In the description, link to the audio visualizer so you can go check it out, support the artist. Link to my Sleep Token playlist and my Rock and Metal Reactions playlist so you can get some similar content from me if you're interested in that. And links to my Discord server, Instagram, Twitter, Spotify playlist of all the songs I've reacted to, at least the ones up on Spotify. And my link tree, which has all my other stuff in it in case any of that interests y'all. Anyways, like I said, it's going to do it. So once again, thank you all for watching, and until next time, I'll be seeing ya.